Hey y'all, welcome to the Substitute Scoop. My name is Jamie West, and I'm with the National Substitute Management Advisory Council. In today's episode, we're going to hear from the National Sub Manager of the Year and learn about success in her substitute world in her district over the past 4 years. I hope you enjoy, and here's the scoop. So I'll go ahead and introduce our guest today. That's Justine Michaud. Justine, if you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you, your district, and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Justine Michaud. I'm an HR specialist with Lake County Schools. I've been with the district going on 4 years. We are dead center, Central Florida district. So we have about 45 schools um, that we manage all substitutes for.
Awesome, awesome. So obviously, you're here because you were the substitute manager of the year through the National SMAC committee. And how does it feel to be the sub manager of the year out of everyone in the country?
Needless to say, I was very surprised. I was very surprised. I was not expecting it, but it does mean a lot to me for my district to nominate me. Very grateful, but it was a very joyous time. I was very surprised and happy.
Good. Awesome. Awesome. So, just a quick overview before we dive into the questions. I will let everyone who's listening today know that Justine and I are in the same district. So, she just happens to be the national sub manager. And I'm so honored to be able to interview her. So, she's definitely well deserving, over deserving, as well as everyone else who was nominated this year. So, it's a really cool program that we do. And we'll definitely talk a little bit more about that in future episodes for sure. So, one of the things that I do love and admire what sub managers do across the country is not just, manage subs from the district level, but they connect, they build relationships, they create this culture that kind of doesn't exist in that group of employees. They kind of tend to go on the back burner sometimes. And so I wanted to kind of ask quickly, Justine, describe some key elements of your district substitute teacher program, how it's structured, and how you go about that day to day and what it looks like for us.
Well, we actually have multiple members, so it's not just myself. These other members are part of the Human Resources Department here with Lake County Schools. Um, we split our duties. It kind of depends on the day. We don't necessarily have a schedule per se, but it's just we divide and conquer pretty much. And
Mhm.
that applies to checking our email for our substitute team, our applicants when we start onboarding those and interviewing. Last year, we had close to 500 applicants actually apply. And for our team, once we get onboarding with our subs, we use a spreadsheet to communicate with each other. Um, so that way, if one is not in the office and we have a question, we can easily see where they are in the onboarding process, these substitutes. So that way, we can easily answer these questions. And it's more streamlined for onboarding
Mhm.
for these subs, and there's no miscommunication. So,
So, just to explain the spreadsheet a little more,
sure.
on this spreadsheet, you're able to kind of track where they are in the process, right? And
Yeah.
you guys can see it
So
when be on it at the same time.
yep, we sure do. So we have it basically in two places. We have it on their actual onboarding, but then we also put it on the spreadsheet because we can't see each other's onboarding process. So that way I can see if this person is missing a certain item as a part of their onboarding process. I can easily let them know that this may be why the other team member was communicating with them and the item that was missing.
Hey y'all, sorry to interrupt this episode, but I wanted to give a shout out to the sponsor of the Substitute Scoop podcast, Red Rover. Red Rover makes smart, easy to use software that helps K 12 schools handle the important stuff like hiring, absences, and time tracking. Over 1,500 districts have already made the switch. If you're interested in learning more, go to redroverk12.com to schedule your free demo today. Speaking of onboarding, especially with substitutes, right? They don't typically get the same experience as full-time employees. And so I know in Lake County schools in your district, you're able to kind of go above and beyond with your onboarding process and have it a little more close and personal, I guess you can say, and connective. So what kind of training or onboarding do substitutes receive before they're basically thrown into the classroom?
Well, I really appreciate our onboarding process. I think it's very communicative. As a part of our onboarding, our substitutes do a self-paced orientation. So with
Mhm.
that orientation, they don't have to schedule a time to meet with us. They can easily go in at their pace and complete it. There's 4 sections. We have classroom management, student safety, sub boot camp, and Red Rover. So Red Rover is our absence management system that we use. So this way, the substitutes are more acquainted with that system, so when they have access, they know what to expect.
Mhm.
Our student safety covers our strategic badge process, and that's given to them at check in for each assignment. And then I always tell substitutes our sub boot camp portion is just like a crash course in substituting. So if they've never been in a classroom before, they're about to learn all about that. Um, we also suggest to our new substitutes, if they've never been in a classroom before, they can always start out as a substitute teacher assistant, pick up those
Okay.
assignments. That way, they have the teacher in the classroom with them. So they're receiving classroom experience, um, but they're not that lead teacher until they become comfortable and then can pick up those assignments in Red Rover.
Awesome. So it's kinda like shadowing in that sense when they
Pretty
can be a
much.
teacher. Yeah. Awesome, awesome. So, obviously, you pride yourself on communication. That's why you're the National Sub Manager of the Year. It's that communication and that culture, right? So communication obviously is key for substitute success. We have learned that.
Mhm.
Explain how you maintain communication with your substitute pool and make sure that the feedback that they're giving you is either, moved where it needs to go or it's used to improve your program.
So, our substitutes can communicate with us all year round. We have a specific email for our substitute team that's
Mhm.
available on our website. It's just simply substitutes at. So they can email us. Any issues that they may be having, if they are unable to access their Red Rover account, need a password reset, or just have a generic question, maybe about payroll. So we can easily communicate with them. We also utilize the bulletin board on Red Rover. We send messages for any calendar changes. In Florida here, hurricane season, we may have sudden closures and we have to communicate quickly with our substitutes, and we utilize that platform for that because all of our substitutes are on that system.
Awesome, awesome. So, one of the things I do want to plug on, and I know you didn't mention this yet, but I know it exists, is your renewal.
Yes.
So, you do also use Red Rover's bulletin posts and even to send out emails too if
Yes.
people don't turn in this form. But tell us a little bit about your renewal process because it is very different than most districts.
Well, we also try to make it as easy as possible for our substitutes. So we just have a renewal application that we send out every year. It just basically asks, are you coming back next year or are you not? If they indicate yes, they remain active. Of course, our substitutes aren't utilized during the summer. They're only active when when the students are on campus. So if they indicate yes, come August when the school year starts, they're able to access Red Rover and simply log in and start picking up assignments again. If they indicate no, then they are just inactivated in Red Rover, and we wish them all the best of luck.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. And I know the substitute pool is obviously a streamlined process into recruiting them as
Oh,
teachers.
yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that pipeline and what that looks like.
Well, a lot of our substitutes become teachers, and it's a great way for those that are getting to know Lake County schools. They can go to the different schools in our area, or in, excuse me, in our districts, and get to know the admin. Decide on maybe there's a certain grade level they're not sure about or subject area that they would like to engage with to find out if that's
Mhm.
where they want to become certified. So this helps them get to know the admin, the school. So then, and we also have a great recruitment team and certification team that can help them with any questions. So our team works really closely with recruitment and certification.
So, talking about recruitment and certification and our HR department and everything that you'll see in a district for being the size that we are,
Right.
um, how do you keep substitutes engaged and motivated to return for future assignments? I know a lot of that is at the school level, but at the district level, what is it that you think of in regards to retention for those subs?
So we actually have the sub of the year program that we have. Um, it is where our subcontacts and our admin at our schools are able to
Mhm,
recognize substitutes. And these substitutes are usually substitutes that are regulars on their campus that have just that stood out to these admin teams. And then they can nominate up to three substitutes. The sub team then you looks at all these nominations, and we actually end up with three substitutes of the year. We have three regions in Lake County schools, so we find a substitute for each region.
awesome. So, tell me a little bit about the substitute of the year, what that looks like. Do you have certificates? Do you have trophies? What does that look like?
We like to go all out for our substitutes. We have a wonderful certificate. We also have a bag of goodies from our sponsors. So that looks like our recruitment team gets those sponsors in and they donate usually classroom supplies. So
Mhm.
it's something useful that the substitutes can use while they're on campus, but then there's also great gift cards for them just for being great substitutes with Lake County schools.
Awesome, awesome. And I know you guys also are involved in social media. So I've seen shout outs for that annual reward on social media. So it's fantastic. So I know you talked about how the school-based sub managers are the ones filling out this form, nominating and recognizing the subs that they obviously see on their campuses every day. What are some of the most common challenges that those school-based substitute managers are facing? Obviously, we hear about the winners, right? So, what are some of those not so winning challenges?
Well, life happens, and last minute cancellations, I would say, is the biggest issue that our subcontacts may run into on a day to day basis. Um,
Mhm.
so that makes our subcontacts at our school levels scramble to find a replacement sub. Um, but the sub managers are able to utilize a report in Red Rover or contact our team here at the district level, and we can provide that information like substitutes that frequently are at their schools or in that area of the district. Our district is so large, so a lot of our
Mhm.
substitutes sub at schools that are closest to their home. So we're able to pull that information and provide that to them so they can reach out to find coverage.
Okay. So a thought on that, with your substitutes, obviously, like you're not forcing them to travel an hour to a school, right? So what are your requirements for your subs? Do you have a certain day of the week they have to work? Do you have requirements in regards to working days?
So we don't have set days that are required.
Mhm,
However, they are just required to work a minimum of 4 full days per month. So our our teachers are able to request a substitute for half a day. So it would have to be
mhm.
4 full days during that month. However, again, back life happens. So our substitutes can reach out to our team and request an exclusion for that month. They may have had to go out of state for family issues or
Mhm.
just have any life issues that come about. And they can just request us exclusions from by emailing our substitute team, and we will notate that. We pull a report every month that shows if the substitutes worked that minimum of the 4 full days per month, and any of those that did not were we communicate with them and just say, "Hey, you didn't reach out to our team, but you may not have worked the required 4 days." And then usually that's when we'll get that communication back.
Yeah, awesome. See, communication is key to success, right?
Absolutely.
So, obviously, we've learned communication is key. Experience is a big thing, right? You gotta grow and go as you go. So tell me how you obviously gather feedback a lot throughout the school year. So tell me how you're using that feedback to improve your program.
So, we use that when we have our meetings with our subcontacts. So, usually, at the start of the new school year, once all that feedback has been collected and we review it to see if there are certain areas that need the most attention, maybe.
Mhm.
We use that and we provide that feedback to our subcontacts and kind of work through best protocol going forward.
Awesome. I love that. So constantly evolving. That's
Yes.
kind of the world of education, right? So awesome. Um, I think I only have a few more questions for you, so we'll round it out here in a second. I do want to kind of think about what the future of substitute teaching looks like for your district. The future of teaching is obviously a revolving door. We never really know. We just do our best to make sure that we're here for our students, that we show up and we show out every single day. And so share some plans or strategies that maybe you have in place, your team has in place, that help you improve that sub program in the future. Obviously, you take that feedback from your sub renewals, you take that feedback from your sub contact, it sounds like as well. And then what do you do from there, right? Like, how are you long term strategizing for your sub program?
So, our recruitment team utilizes our bulletin board on Red Rover as well. And each year we have a become a teacher session. So these sessions are offered to our substitutes as well. Now, they also go over interviewing skills, writing a resume. So this is just helpful information for them in general, but we offer that to our substitutes. And that I believe just helps morale and
Mhm.
know that we want our substitutes involved and they're important to us to have. So
Yeah.
this information to share with them, I think is a great tool that they can utilize.
All
Right.
right. So I think I have only like one more question, maybe two for you.
Uh-oh.
All right. So if you were to tell someone who's a new sub manager, so think of
Okay.
one of your elementary schools, middle schools, or high schools, think of somebody who's a brand new front desk,
Uh-oh.
front face, right? They're the
Okay.
first impression that a sub sees when they lock eyes first thing in the morning, right? So what advice would you give that person? Because it is such a special role, and if you've never experienced substitute world, it can be tough to dive into. So,
Absolutely.
what advice would you go ahead and give a new sub manager?
I would let them know to build that relationship with their substitutes. They are going to have substitutes that are on their campus so very often, and to just build that relationship. Also, answer any questions, share with them that they can also communicate with the other sub managers out there in the district, and kind of get an idea of how maybe they set up their substitutes for success. You know, a lot of our our sub contacts um, have folders prepared. They
Mhm.
like it when the teachers bring the lesson plans to them, so they are the person that gives the lesson plans to these substitutes, and they have it all in a folder. They have a map of the school, their keys, their badge, ready to go, and sometimes there's just a whole table set up. So, like commonly asked questions that the substitutes may have. It's also good knowledge for anyone, but
Mhm.
set up for specifically for the substitutes where they can come in, gather their items, get prepared for the day. And it's an easy process because that front office can be a little hectic first thing in the morning. So, when they're checking in, they're set aside, they're able to come in and make contact with that subcontact quickly, get to the classroom, get ready to set up to start accepting students in the classroom.
Yeah, I do love that, I do love that. I think that, like you said, that first impression, right? It makes sure customer service all the
Absolutely.
time, right? Yeah. So we do have a few schools in our district, and I will shamelessly plug how awesome they are. They will give a water bottle and a little welcome bag to every sub on that campus. There are people who will sub at schools just because they get free stuff in the morning. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So it's really, really awesome, and I do have to give huge kudos to Justine. I won't get to do this with any other podcast, just with Justine because she's in our district, but, it's just so nice to be able to see how sub-managers interact with you. So the school-based sub-managers, we have 50 schools, and there's 2 at every school, so that's 100 people who are constantly asking you about best practices, about customer service, about oh, what do I do if the sub never turned in the keys
Yeah.
from the classroom? Everything from A to Z. And I think you go through the substitute world and the substitute process and you manage it so well and so calmly. Huge kudos to you. Just great advice all around this podcast in regards to just best practices with sub management, culture, building relationships. I think you're just doing it all. So I want to give you big kudos for
Well, I
that.
appreciate that greatly.
Awesome. So thank you, Justine, again for joining us today on the Substitute Scoop.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. So, thank you everyone.
Bye.